I can't believe I found this pine cone. It must be the biggest, bestest pine cone ever. But I'm just not very hungry. So I'm gonna hide. I'm gonna find a good spot. I'm gonna put it right over here. And there we go. That's a perfect spot. Well, let's make sure I know where I am so I can make sure to come back. Okay, perfect. Wow, you have lots of energy, bee.
Oh, I sure do. I'm a busy worker bee. I gotta collect all this nectar and pollen and bring it back to my home so all my sisters can eat.
So it's all your food? That's what you're collecting?
Mm-hmm.
That's
delicious food.
Awesome. That's what I'm doing too. I'm looking for my pine cone.
What?
Yeah.
A what?
A pine cone. It's
a pine cone.
Big brown thing with pokey spines on it. Super tasty.
That sounds horrible. And you eat it?
Oh yeah, it's great.
Wow. Well, why are you looking for it?
Well, I hid it here a couple years ago, and I just figured it'd be time for a good snack.
All right. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna keep going on and eating my delicious sweet nectar. Good luck.
Thank you. I might try one of these flowers.
Oh yeah, for sure. This one right here has a lot of delicious pollen on it. That one's my favorite. I love when people plant those ones in my yard, especially bee balm. Ooh, you must really love it.
I got stuck in my tongue and.
Yeah, it can be a little sticky.
Are you gonna stick to pine cones?
Well, all right. So did you sell more flowers for me? I love when people plant wildflowers in their yard. It's perfect for me. Purple cone flowers, bergamot.
They sure are pretty. They just don't really help me as a squirrel.
Sorry. They're beautiful to look at.
Totally agree. Thanks for all your work. See ya, bee. Bee got to eat all the lunch, and I haven't gotten to see my lunch at all. Oh, it's you.
Oh, hey, Gray Squirrel, what you doing?
I'm looking for my lunch.
Oh, what's on the menu today? Acorns?
Actually a pine cone, the biggest pine cone I've ever seen. I hid it over here.
Lucky you.
Yeah,
it's probably perfect this time of year in spring. Did you hide it last fall?
It was actually about 3 years ago.
What?
2 or 3 years ago.
Did you say years?
I did, yeah. I figured, it might just get tastier with age.
Well, or more rotten, or something else.
What?
You said you hid it right over here?
Yeah, right over here.
Right here in this planter box?
Yeah, but I can't find it now.
Right where that pine tree is?
Pretty close to there, yeah.
Yeah, you're out of luck. You waited too long.
Too long?
Yeah, you planted it a few years ago and you're supposed to eat it that following spring. Well,
but I didn't know that.
Yeah, you planted it, which is great, and the fact that you just planted a new pine tree.
I did by accident. I was hoping to eat it.
Well, you can't really eat that pine tree.
No, it's kind of big and pokey.
Yeah, the good thing though is if you look really carefully at the top, do you see what's growing up there?
Oh yeah, a little tiny pine cone.
Yeah.
It's so tiny compared to the one that I hid though.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to eat that one.
No, you gotta wait for it to grow a little bit bigger.
Okay.
Yeah, and maybe even though you can't eat that actual pine cone, you helped plant this tree. You're a plant partner.
Hey, I like that. I like that, so I kind of helped out.
Yeah, and by planting one tree, it makes lots more seeds for lots more animals and more food for us.
Sure, so if I come back to this tree in a few years, again, I might actually find pine cones like the one I hit.
Yep, exactly.
Very cool. Was that bee helping the plants?
That bee was, even though we don't like to drink nectar and pollen, it was pollinating all those flowers to make more flowers. He's also a plant partner.
That bee was so busy.
Yeah, very busy. Too busy for me.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, well, the cool thing too is anybody can be a plant partner as long as you help plants and help them grow. You can even do it in your own backyard.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Red Squirrel.
Well, maybe
I learned
we
a
should
ton.
plan to meet up again in a couple more years.
That sounds good, because
Okay.
maybe I'll have down another pine cone, because I'm kind of hungry right now.
Yeah, me too.
So I'm going to go look.
All right, bye.
See ya.
These flowers do look kind of tasty. Maybe I'll give it a try. Nope, thank you. Ugh. Hi, Naturalist Brianna here, and welcome to my backyard. Today for gardening, I wanted to talk about ways that you can be strategic in your plant choices right in the city. So rather than just planting vegetables or potted annuals, I thought it'd be fun to talk about how you can do landscaping in a way that's more of a naturescape for wildlife and native pollinators and butterflies and birds in Minnesota. So today I'll be talking about how you can plant native pollinator-friendly plants that have lots of benefits. A couple of the benefits is that they're very low maintenance. So these plants are native to this area, to this climate, native to the soil. They have evolved over time with the pollinators and the birds that are here. And so they require very minimal care, which is awesome because I don't know about you, but if you're busy working full time, have a family, have a social life, you don't have a lot of time to go out and maintain your plants. So these ones, once they're established, you can really just let them grow. They actually like poor soil quality or soil that's more sandy and allows for drainage, and they're very hardy. They'll come back year after year. And the ones I'll be showing you here in just a little bit will grow maybe in mid shade to full sun. So really, I want to show you an area that might be considered useless. What can you do planting stuff here, and how you can transform it into a way that really adds biodiversity to your backyard. Another thing is that it really saves on cost and time. The area that we'll be planting in today, we could have easily put maybe bushes down or seeded it or sod with Kentucky bluegrass, but then that would have taken time to maintain it. We would have had to bring hoses out to water it. That costs money and time, fertilizing it. And then if we want to keep those weeds out like creeping Charlie or dandelions, you'd also have to fertilize it and potentially spray it. The great thing about native plants is that you don't need to do any fertilizing or spraying, and that also is great for the environment. One, it helps protect our pollinators and keep them safe, but two, also just the health of your community. By not spraying, there's going to be less carcinogens out there. Native plants also really absorb a lot of pollution in the water. In the city, there's a lot of concrete, a lot of runoff surfaces, and that first inch of runoff, that water, has a lot of pollutants in it. And these root systems for these native plants are amazing. Once they grow to their full potential above ground, maybe a foot high to 3 feet high by 4 feet wide, the biomass that's under the soil is actually a lot more extensive and deep. Some of these roots can go maybe down to 6 feet or more, and so they're really filtering out a lot of that water before it hits into our sewer system or goes into the river. The other great place is to keep the soil intact and help with erosion, and that's one of our problems in our backyard area that I'll be showing you in just a little bit. Another thing is it just enhances livability. Maybe by planting native flowers, it could also increase the property value of your home. It also just increases air quality. More biomass of these plants actually help with noise pollution in the city too, which are all great perks. And lastly, maybe just improving mental health by seeing these beautiful plants out there flowering all summer long. They'll bring enjoyment and beauty to your neighborhood. It's really important to pick plants that might bloom earlier in the summer and the colder weather, and then late bloomers towards the end of summer. And so you're providing a variety of food and pollination and nectar for our native bees and butterflies. By providing food for our pollinators and insects, we're also providing food for our songbirds as well. Research has shown that every year about 5 to 10% of our songbird population has been decreased. That has to do with loss of habitat, and also, especially if they're insectivores, the reduction of insects due to sprays and chemicals has really impacted them as well. So by planting these native plants, you're improving your your quality of your garden and your neighborhood and beauty. You're creating biodiversity for our pollinators. You're helping with water quality, and it saves you a lot of time and money. So a few of the plants that I'll be planting today are ones that I purchased at a local nursery in Minneapolis called Naturally Wild. And the great thing about living in the Twin Cities is that there are so many nurseries available to you. Even a lot of the large greenhouses or Menards might have some of these wild, or I should say, wildflowers, prairie wildflowers, or woodland flowers that are native to Minnesota. And they're a great resource to you if you have questions on what you should be planting in your own backyard. A couple of the ones I'll be planting today include this fun little guy right here, Anise hyssop. The great thing about this guy is it is edible. You can eat the leaves, you can cook it and use it in things, and the smell of it smells just like black licorice, which is really fun. So when you're choosing your plants, you should pick ones that are not just great for the pollinators, but ones that maybe you could use to throw in a salad or a tea. We also have here, this is a pretty common one, coneflower or echinacea. This one is a great one for a pollinator, has a beautiful purple flower. And right now it's just a little teeny guy, first year, but in the next few years it'll really get established and kind of spreads and has lots of beautiful purple flowers on it. We also have wild bergamot, which many of you might know as bee balm. This is a great plant for pollinators as well. This is part of the mint family and it has a square stem to it. And again, a beautiful flower as well. So the types of plants I've chosen, they're going to have a variety of purple flowers, blue flowers, white flowers, and then this one here is called butterfly weed. It's part of the milkweed family. It does have bright orange, beautiful flowers, and I wanted a milkweed plant to help with our monarch population as well. Monarchs need that milkweed plant to lay their eggs on it for the caterpillars to eat, but they also need a variety of flowers to get their nectar source from. And this last one here is called Blazing Star. This one has kind of a spear-shaped flower to it, a purple deep color flower that actually blooms from the top and works its way down. So a lot of these flowers that I just talked about are naturally found in our prairies. And so if you are looking for a place to check out where you can find these flowers, if you can't plant them in your own yard, a great resource is actually at Wood Lake Nature Center. We have a restored prairie. It's beautiful back there, and it's really neat to see that the work we put into that has actually brought more diversity of wildlife. Last summer, the rusty patch bumblebee was found out there, which is really exciting because not only is it our state bumblebee, it is also federally listed. And so by making these restoration efforts, it's really making a difference. And even if you don't have a huge area in your yard that you can restore, just every little bit counts, and every little bit of restored plants in your backyard will add up to a prairie over time. And rusty patch bumblebees have been found in people's alleyways before, which is pretty awesome. So why don't you follow me out and I'll show you the area that we are going to plant in my backyard. So come on this way and I'll grab a plant here. Got my trusty little sidekick, Ruby. All right, so welcome to our parking space in the middle of the city. We're right off an alleyway, and we have this very small section of unused space. A lot of people might think it's unusable, and we could have easily just left it. We could have planted grass, but again, all the benefits of wildflowers, we wanted to focus on restoring this area the best that we can. So you can see there's really not much here. It's not high quality soil, but again, these wildflowers are really resistant to kind of maybe lower quality areas. And you can see that this area kind of slopes. We've had issues with water pooling here, and so by planting these wildflowers with their extensive root system, that will really help with erosion and absorb that extra water. The pot that this came in is a fiber pot, and it's super easy because you can plant the plant right in the pot into the ground. So I'm gonna head right over here. Watch out. The one nice thing about having dogs in the city is hopefully they'll keep rabbits away or other little rodents that might want to nibble on your plants. You're going right where I want to plant, Rubes. Alright, so I'm going to dig down here. I don't want to dig too deep. I don't want to suffocate this plant. But I also want to make sure that it is nice and secure in here. Pack it in around the edges. This area gets partial shade to sunlight, so this is a great spot for this to grow. And like I had said, these wildflowers don't need a ton of water, but when you first are establishing them, you'll want to make sure that they don't dry out, because they do have little tiny roots to begin with. Make sure it's nice and watered. Saturate that soil. And that's about it. Pretty easy, pretty simple. We're gonna go ahead and kind of plant this little area, and we'll let you know what the final product looks like. All right, and here is what the final product looks like. Doesn't look like much, but we have probably about 16 plants that we put in here. Before, this area was just kind of unusable, just full of kind of weeds and open soil space, and so we went ahead and actually put in a little bit of edging here just to keep the gravel from moving into the flower bed. And we went ahead and just put some really cheap wood chip down. You definitely won't have to do this, but we just decided to do it because it's in our backyard and we want it to look nice. You can keep it super simple and actually just get some wildflower seed mix and sprinkle it down in the fall and let it do its own thing, and hopefully in the spring you'll have some new flowers and forbs kind of coming up. And the awesome thing about this area is that over time, these little tiny plants here that don't look like much will maybe grow to be about anywhere from a foot to 3 or 4 feet tall and wide. They'll really fill in this area. And in the fall, you won't even have to cut them back. You can just leave them. The reason why is not only are they providing pollen and a nectar food source for our native pollinators, but they'll provide a home for a lot of our Minnesota native bees. And how they use them as a home is actually in the fall, the queen bee will come and she'll lay her eggs inside of the hollow stems. And so you won't have to cut them back. You can just leave them in the fall, and then in the spring, about this time of year when it warms up, those eggs will be hatching and turning into more native bees. If you don't have the space to plant native pollinator-friendly plants, or just don't want the hassle of it, but you still want to make a difference for our pollinator population, you can install something called a native bee box. And I'll show you what that is. You can come on over here. This chunk of wood here with a bunch of holes drilled in it is actually a replica of what our plants here would be providing with their hollow stems. And so how this box works is if you have just scrap wood around your house, you can drill maybe about 8 inches deep and a variety of holes. Each different native bee species will require a different size hole. And what they'll do here in the fall, when they're ready to lay eggs, is they'll find this opening. The queen will go inside of that opening all the way back until she reaches the end of the tunnel, and she'll lay an egg. She'll fill it in maybe with mud, leaves, grass. Just depends on what type of species of native bee you've had. And she'll keep laying eggs and packing that in until the end. You'll see that it's closed off, which is really exciting because come fall you'll be able to check and ID kind of based on what substance or material you find in your hole of what native bee is using your bee box. We'll go ahead and link some of the information about the native plant species that I've used and why I've chosen to use them, where I purchased them, more information about these bee boxes. You can actually get bee boxes that look more of like a house, like a bird house, and you can fill them in with straws or bamboo straws, and that way every year you can swap them out with the new ones after the eggs have hatched out. And you can find those at local nurseries or even the hardware store. So I'll go ahead and post more information in the link about where you can find these plants. A great source is the U of M Bee Lab, the U of M
Plant Extension, Minnesota DNR, and Forest Service are all great resources. So if you go ahead and you're inspired by this video and you go ahead and plant some native flowers in your yard, we would love to see some photos. We would love to see some updates, and make sure you tag us in that and post some photos on our Facebook page at Wood Lake Nature Center. Thank you guys for tuning in.